I gotta see what.
So you're saying to
I would
The way that questions are is like you showed a question and have live results. So all the questions are totally set and then our invitation to the survey.
Oh, on the, I mean, we have to be. No, we literally, download it.
at least for the first one and the second one.
It should be an I guess it might look a little bit better. Oh, sorry. You want an email or just
Prices went up so high. You know, I probably saw it.
I also don't know if you want to check that I say solid cheese. Do you want me to go through to make sure it's easy? No, it's just like instead of like how many here today live, work in Pilgate, just like who lives and works. It's just like slightly changing. I can like double check them to make sure that they're all like relatively the same.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
What you guys
Sure, yes, sorry.
How are you? Thank you. How are you? See you again. Okay, so we'll get started. No worries.
Of course, yeah. I know. At least you don't look at No, that's the contract. Total. Oh, yeah, that's, it's kind of. Good, yeah, that's good.
No, no, it's on my. Let me check my email.
Yeah.
We have our team. Yeah, yeah. We got one or two. I can take mine, I can fit four. What? Because I think they want to see. Well, I don't know. Yeah, but it was in the street here. And then this was supposed to be. Okay. Totally And I go, it was live. So this bill that they got is just standing. It literally says if you don't do it in 30 days. I'll email. Well. Well, or they're starting the class. Yeah. So they're starting the class this week from what they stick to. So I'll have to call.
If you need any tips, please feel free
Obviously, the city is here.
Okay, thank you. You're so welcome.
Brian's telling me that contract posted.
Oh, yes, I'm great, thank you.
They got a bill. Something about it says you have to pay.
So obviously, we know that.
No, we don't have anything from the county. We don't go to the county.
Because we're all on the same page, that we're deferring to CEO. If you can just find out what's going on, should the county.
I'll look it up. I'll forward it to you. Let me look at it. I'll forward it to you, and then you and I can work it out. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So, because I told him, makes sense now. Okay. What day's today?
Thank you.
Almost there. Almost. Oh, no, I'm just curious. Just want to make sure all the I know.
Oh, yeah. He set these checks.
You may have a
I'm gonna cross the front of you, really quick.
Okay, it was the 19th, right? Thank you. Just want to share with you that information. Thank you, Taylor. I would suggest it's tape, but it's not tape. Yeah. I will, liquids. I'll keep out this. Okay. We'll take one from that, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so it's like this. Yeah.
Yes.
Normally when you go on that, there's a little He's supposed to be quicker. These ones are longer.
So how do you say so if I feel like like
Of course, yeah.
I don't know that you really do take
Yeah.
So you're just gonna have fun there. Yeah.
I think I've got 10 years of experience into 1 year.
so I can go visit.
In terms of like a local big move, we're still keeping an eye out on other real estate. Yeah, because where we are, compared to my comments today, but where we are is ourselves, our functionally, together we are on two pillars, so very that, yeah, that are sort of, if you're, yeah, we are contingencies are, what are we doing there? What are we doing there? What are we doing here locally? And then if we're gonna be completely separated, then how do we come together and what does that look like? And then we are in person, 100%. And when you're separated, there's still a lot that you so
So who's running them? You are. Oh, you want to run this stuff? Well, it's a third change. Run. Run. So we all. So let's go.
we're ready. Are you gonna stand here?
So you want to stand by the podium?
And I believe this mic will be hot. It's spicy, man. It's spicy. It's on fire. They are operating in the back. If you just let them know how you want it done, they'll make sure say, Rachel, you want me to go ahead and stuff? That works. Well, it's all, I'll still be, you know, right here, so. If I need Oh, I got you. Got your own Secret Service. That's all I care about.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for attending. I want to thank my security team for watching. By way of introduction, I'm Rick Green, Development Service. Thank you all for coming. Just to provide a little context, we did our first downtown master plan as part of our zoning code in 1995. In 2007, we recognized that it was time for an update to that downtown master plan, and the city retained the services of Discovich, who updated our master plan. Fast forward 18 years, we get to 2025, and we recognize that it's been 18 years since we did our last update. So we recognize that it was time to maybe look at our downtown master plan again and tweak it and bring it up to date and see what changes needed to be made. So we went through a bid process. We looked at 9 bids that came in, and at the end of the day, we selected Discovich, who coincidentally had done the downtown master plan update 18 years earlier. So they're on board with us. We've got a schedule that's going to take us through the end of the year, updating our plan. There's going to be a lot of public outreach. We have formed a steering committee that's going to work with us. And today will be the first of several roundtable discussions we have. Chris, I'm going to steal your joke. We have rectangle tables, so I apologize for that. Also, for those of you who park in the garage, we don't want you paying the $60 parking charge for the boat show. In the back to validate, but if I see anybody enjoying the boat show in this group, I'm going to ask for a refund. So with that, I'm going to ask Grace Perdumo to introduce her team and kind of give us an overview for today. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and happy boat show day. We're very excited to be here. I wanted to start out by introducing our team and then walk you through some of the information related to the outreach program in place for this process. Can we turn off the lights? This is a first of a series of roundtables that we will be hosting. And today it is unique in the sense that the topic that we're going to be discussing is actually going to be covered in 2 sessions. And we'll share some more on that. But first of all, I wanted to introduce you to our team. Discovich Architects, as Rick mentioned, has to West Palm Beach. We've been involved, worked back in 2007, 2009 in developing the downtown master plan and also developing the zoning recommendations that have spearheaded, have really been the set of regulations that have guided development in downtown. And today West Palm Beach is at a very pivotal point to look at what the next 25 years looks like. We are an architectural, urban planning, and design firm. Our headquarters is based in Miami. We have several offices throughout the state and the country. And here with me today, I have Bernard Siskovich, founder of Siskovich Architects, if you can wave your hand. I have Surya Yafar, our director of design, and Dice Adam, our project manager, and Andrew Ziggins, who's our urban designer architect on the firm. We also have here today Lambert Advisory. Paul was involved back in 2007, 2009. He's an economic real estate consultant based in Miami. We do all, if not most of our work with Paul, and he will be moderating today's panel. In addition to that, we have Scape Landscape on our team, architecture firm based with offices throughout the country, and representing Scape today and working on this project is Laura Merritt. Laura, raise your hand. And they will be focusing on public space realm as well as resiliency. We also have Town Square with us today, a rather huge, Jerome Barth, here is the founder of Town Square, a unique consulting firm known for its work in Bryant Park and in the Highland in New York. And he will be covering public realm activation, programming, and governance. Stantec, Frank Domingo, is represented here as well. Frank will be, many of you may know, Stantec is a firm that covers, again, engineering, architecture, and transportation. He will be covering the aspects of the downtown master plan related to transportation, smart streets, complete streets, And he is partnered with Pinder Troutman Consulting, who many of you may know. Andrea Pinder is here today. Sorry, Andrea. As a local, will also be working with Frank on the transportation issues. And last but not least, S.A. Nelson, Sophia Nelson and her team, who many of you may know, is a local communications and communications firm, and she's assisting us with all the outreach efforts. Today is day one of this process. We kicked off about a few weeks ago with the city. As I mentioned, there's going to be a series of roundtables, a total of 3 covering a diverse set of topics as part of this process. Today, we're kicking it off with the vision and economic future of the city. The next roundtable will happen in August, and it'll cover connectivity and mobility in a smart city framework, and the third workshop will be held in May, and it will cover character, placemaking, scale, and public activation, public space. And as I mentioned earlier, this is but one format of the several types of outreach that we will do throughout this process, which will include doing walk and talk with residents, community organizations, and so forth. The roundtables we've also been having, will conduct one-on-one meetings with the mayor and the commissioner. And also we'll be conducting surveys online and so forth. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul. This is the agenda for the day for the next 45 minutes. And Paul will take it away. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Let me start with, in terms of our panelists, I'll invite them up in a minute, set the stage a little bit before they come up. But this is an amazing group today. Bill Dial is the executive vice president of Related Loss, formerly related companies, that has been clearly the lead investment development company within downtown West Palm over the past 20 years. And Bill has been part of that over that entire length of time. Kelly is, as many of you know, the head of the business development board for the county. Sean, her executive vice president, is with her as well today. They're both participating. Unfortunately, Kelly needs to leave early, so Sean's going to take part of the presentation on the Q&A and the question and answer session. Finally, Jennifer from New Day USA, which is a new firm, many of you may know or may not know, one of the fastest growing companies in downtown West Palm, fintech company. Prior being in downtown West Palm, they were based in Maryland, moved into this market. So we're going to have a conversation with Jennifer. She's the head of human resources, the senior vice president for human resources for the company, but also what it's taking to grow a company that's hiring an incredible large number of people, and what the challenges are in the market today in terms of that growth. So, but before that, I'm going to just briefly go through in terms of what the goal of this session is. I should say, principally, these are roundtables. In most cases, you could be having these stakeholder meetings, these important stakeholder meetings one-on-one, privately for the most part. What we've decided from experience, and Bernard, Surya, Grace, and myself over the years, is that, you know what, why don't we open up the interview process more broadly to have people participate and hear thinking that's going on, questions that we would otherwise ask ourselves. And so this morning, it's really about the large investment climate within downtown West Palm Beach. Now, when Bernard, Surya, and I were doing this 20 years ago, this topic was an important topic, but there was very modest amount of scale investment in downtown West Palm. Now, it is a national model for how you grow a small, mid-sized city in a large region, increasingly the model. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how it's changed over the years. But just to set this in terms of context, what we've seen, as you all know, that South Florida has since the pandemic, has kind of gotten national renown in terms of how much growth and how much investment has been throughout. So that goes all the way from downtown Miami to Lauderdale, up through Palm Beach, and even further north as well. But just to put this in perspective of how much downtown West Palm Beach is an outlier, I'll get to the details of that in a minute. Sorry. Because of a minute. So downtown has grown from just over 7,000 residents in 2010, downtown West Palm, to just over 10,000 residents today. So there's been a significant amount of resident growth. Even profile of downtown residents is higher than it is for the city overall, and very close to the overall county. And so you see that includes all neighborhoods within downtown. When you break out, with the exception of the Northwest neighborhood, which is still an area of some concentrated poverty, their incomes are even a bit higher. But what's extraordinary, what we've actually seen in every one of the markets is this is growth in, or rather rental rates for, in this particular case, for housing, for multifamily housing on a per square foot basis. So downtown West Palm today, for developments that were built in the past 10 years, or even the past 4 or so years, are outperforming anything even downtown Miami. And there's been constant growth. Now, it's a smaller market, obviously, but it's outperforming any other sub-market in the area. If you look at growth over the period, rates that came
Yeah.
20 years ago, they showed it now, right?
We'll blame
So,
the sci-fi.
growth in terms of downtown. You've seen growth since 2018 in rents on a per square foot basis grow by 43%. So that's amazing. It's also a challenge, obviously, in terms of affordability and being able to do housing. When you compare it to all other major urban markets in the county, in the region, including Miami, Lauderdale, and Boca, downtown Boca, it's outperforming all of those. Yeah, maybe it's easier. So as opposed, all right, in terms of office rates, in terms of office rates, what you see is an equal level of even greater growth. Again, downtown West Palm Beach, smaller market, growing market, but outperforming all of the other sub-markets. If you go to the next slide, and this is what's really extraordinary. Office rental rates. This is Class A office rental rates in terms of direct rental rates. So triple net rental rates have grown by 84% since 2016. Miami, which is also seeing tremendous growth, is only at 62% in the bricklayer. So you've seen that downtown West Palm is kind of an outlier of all the areas. And downtown Fort Lauderdale is really lagged behind. We're seeing, in fact, there's been a real switch. It used to be Lauderdale has significant growth, but not so much anymore. But Hope is kind of keeping up. If you go to the next slide. In terms of retail lease rates, and if you go to the next slide, I'll lose a bit of kind of control on this. But in terms of growth, what you see in downtown West Palm, again, kind of consistent story. 35% growth in average lease rates on the ground floor. Miami is actually seeing a drop in lease rates downtown. And this, from a plan perspective, is important for us to consider. What's happening in Miami? Why is Miami lease rates dropping in terms of retail? Well, we forced every development in the city of Miami to build retail on the ground floor. And so what we do is we actually have an oversupply of retail because we've kind of set this up as a planning framework. It's something just to be aware of going forward. We've seen some growth in Lauderdale and Boca as well, but still, West Palm is outpacing all of them. So with that, that's just a very kind of brief overview of folks that are going to talk a lot more depth on what's happening in this market. I did invite Kelly and Bilbao, Sean, and Jennifer up to the panel discussion around some of these issues, obviously. good morning. Thanks so much for sitting on this important, first session of the downtown master plan. I feel like a game show. So I think let's start just briefly. I quick introduction to each of you. It would be helpful to go across and talk about your background specifically with downtown. Obviously, many people in the audience know who you are. For those that don't, if you want to start.
Sure. I'm an executive vice president with Related Ross, as you said, formerly Related Companies. Our division that was called Related Southeast before. I have actually been coming to downtown West Palm for the last 14 years. And my journey here started with the development of the Hilton Hotel, which some of you might know is a public-private partnership between Palm Beach County and Related. So that I started that negotiation in 2011, and we started building that hotel in 2014, opened it a little over 9 years ago in 2016. The development of that hotel was significant for us. It obviously became an economic engine for the convention center. And then I got asked to move down here to start our office in 2016. And my partner said, oh, by the way, you need to handle city place. So experience with managing that project since its inception, which had opened in 2000, 25 years ago. But I then, with our team, started the process of reimagining city place and thinking about integrating the lifestyle center that was designed as more into the fabric of downtown. So I actually moved here about 9 years ago, and I live here with my wife and son in the park, and we building our office.
Hi, good morning. Jen Harrell. I moved to Florida about 13 years ago for a company based in Boca, headquarters anyway, based in Boca, Office Depot. So ODP Corporation, spent a number of years with them, and then a year ago joined New Day, which is based now, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, right here in downtown West Palm. And so very familiar with West Palm, more as being a local resident for the last 12, 13 years, and then for the last year, very close to my heart in terms of determining our future and the space that we take up here in South Florida as a company, attracting talent here. Also making sure that things like transportation, commutes for our employees that are mid-level career and executives that don't live right here downtown, or also things like affordable housing for our college hires that we bring in, 200 to 300 is my goal for this year, and making sure that they have a place to live that their parents think is safe, because about 50% of them are relocating here from other cities and from other states. Those are things top of mind for me, and really making sure too that we are able to contribute back to the community. That's very important to us as a company, that not only are we bringing in talent that can work for us, but we want them to stay here, live, play, work, and contribute to the local community. So, thank you.
Good morning, and thank you. My name is Kelly Smallridge. I'm President and CEO of the Economic Development Board for all 39 cities in Palm Beach County, referred to as EDB. I have had the great pleasure over 3 decades of working with every mayor that's been in the city. I remember the days of the discussion of knocking down the library. I remember the waterfront activities. So I've got a lot of experience in the city, and I grew up not far from the city, born and raised. I have seen a tremendous amount of transformation and growth, obviously, that's taken place in all of Palm Beach County. I look forward to sharing those thoughts later on in the panel, but boy, has it ever been amazing to see the little old city that I was not allowed to even come to when I was growing up as a kid, to now be the destination that everyone wishes that they lived here in downtown West Palm.
I'm Sean Rowan. I'm the Vice President at the Business Development Board with Kelly. I've been there for almost 18 years now working for Kelly, and I focus primarily on business recruitment, retention, and expansion. And like Kelly, I also grew up here, not in West Palm, but a little bit further north of Chico. So been around to see a lot of changes in the downtown area as well.
So just jump into some questions. So Paul, can I go?
Speak up.
Sorry, I thought I said about this. So
soft spoken, Paul.
Yeah. Noticed. So this is for Kelly and Bob as well. Listen, you've done an amazing job certainly the past several years in terms of attracting financial service firms as well as even more recently healthcare in terms of those industries. How do you see that growing over the next 10 years or so in terms of other potential industries? Particularly for downtown, right? Tech, is that in the cards? You actually see industrial Fortune 500 headquarter companies coming into this market. What's the future hold? Or is it just going to be an expansion largely of what we built, what you built already in the foundation? So Alan, you're dealing with tenants all the time, and Kelly obviously this was an early hook there. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting because, when we started looking at building new Class A office here back in 2018 as we were reimagining City Place. And that first new building was 360 Rosemary, which we closed on the loan for that right pre-COVID. And luckily we had closed on the loan pre-COVID because we ended up getting through the COVID period and realizing major acceleration post-COVID in terms of migration to South Florida. What we realized at the time is there had been a major foundation here for finance for obvious reasons. So we focused on finance initially because we knew those were the companies that wanted to build here and wanted to grow here. And this is even pre-COVID. There were a lot of big companies that were looking at major regional plays here. So that was certainly the focus initially. But we always believed, and we still believe, that the market needs to diversify. There needs to be more than finance here. I do think the financial industries will grow in South Florida. But as you said, now we're starting to see healthcare with Cleveland Clinic now coming to the Weston City Place, and with Vanderbilt expanding their, doing the first satellite campus outside of Nashville, which will be a business school and an innovation school that will be focused on AI, fintech, data science, all the key industry words you hear these days. We are seeing and having discussions with some major tech companies that are looking at either moving to the West Coast or Texas, for example, or setting up a regional office here. So I do think it's an interesting moment in time where obviously South Florida and more specifically West Palm is in focus, where we are having discussions with other industries and mainly tech right now for our new office assets in downtown.
And so, do you see those being in different buildings in the sense that they need different floor plates, there's different requirements, or accommodate on a similar scale in terms of office and other buildings? How's that playing itself out in terms of as it relates to the plan, obviously, in so many?
Yeah, I mean, luckily for us, we have a variety of office buildings that have been sort of in concept design in the City Place district in particular. We can build 3 or 4 more buildings if the demand is there. We just broke ground on 2 buildings, 10 and 15 City Place, which added 1 million square feet to the Class A office market. Currently, the Class A office market is 1.6 million square feet across 5 buildings that we own and manage. Right now, the companies we're talking to are fitting in within the 10 and 15 City Place buildings, but if a company comes and says, hey, we want to build a custom building, and here are our specifications, we're excited because we have the ability to work with those companies to build the suite for those companies. So we haven't had any of those opportunities come to fruition as of yet. There have been discussions, but for the moment, it's about integrating some of these tech companies into the existing floor plates that we have in the existing buildings that are being built, which are flexible and effectively 25 to 40,000 square foot plates, and have the ability to accommodate any company from the industry.
So Kelly, on that, are you, from your perspective, you obviously are seeing this at a very early stage, and companies are actually going out and recruiting as well. Number one, has that changed over the past couple of years in terms of beyond finance and healthcare, in terms of new opportunities? Number one, and I guess the second question of that is you're looking at all of Palm Beach County, right? So OVA has always been strong. In fact, those us that are in Miami that have focused on this over the years always view Boca as the place where it's competitive for finance and even tech to attract the Miami. But the reality is that's even the past couple of years it's changed. Overnight, almost the downtown West Palm. And of course, Palm Beach Gardens also, which has, as we've spoken about before, has a lot of engineering and high technical resident base. So how does downtown West Palm fit in that as it relates to some of these new industries and tech and others that are not necessarily here just yet?
So a couple of comments. I think we need to understand that, the difference was we used to see tourism, construction, and real estate as the driving industries. And when we talk about finance today, it's different than the finance that we talked about 10 or 15 years ago. The financial sector today are primarily Wall Street companies coming here to downtown West Palm in private equity, venture capital, asset wealth management. We also have to remember that West Palm Beach is strategically located in an area that Boca and Palm Beach Gardens do not have this one particular asset. We are right over the bridge from 59 billionaires and 71,000 millionaire households, and I only see that number going up. The other difference that I see in the technology industry is obviously Boca Raton, birthplace of the IBM PC, but what we're seeing today is more artificial intelligence, data analytics, cybersecurity coming in, and now we're talking about quantum computing, and I think all of that is starting to play off this idea that Vanderbilt is coming here, that there's more med tech coming here, and many of these companies are wanting to access that. And some more trends. 70% of our business before was growing what was in our backyard. The reason why it feels so different today is 70% of what's coming into this area is coming in from another state. So there are many employees like with New Day USA coming in that are bringing in hundreds of new people to this area. That didn't happen before when, say, a Pratt Whitney expanded. Pratt Whitney would expand and they would go over the county line to Martin or St. Lucie. But they weren't bringing in 600 people to come and work at Pratt Whitney who needed homes, pools, schools, cleaners, restaurants, and retail. So think of all of the amenities now that come with this idea that the population increase is coming in from other states. From the tech perspective, floor plates are the amenities that Related and other developers are building is absolutely critical. But of note today, of what we're seeing now that we didn't see years ago, is that executives are saying, draw a 5-mile radius around this particular building, 525, 777, 222, whatever in West Palm. Draw a 5-mile radius. Give me all of the educational assets and number of graduates in this particular degree. Tell me the public schools. Tell me how my people will get around. And that is where I think there's room for improvement. So creating this full comprehensive community. The tech companies are a different kind of tech. The finance firms are a different kind of finance. And West Palm is a very different market than Boca Raton and Jupiter. And a matter of fact, it is the only waterfront market. So we get companies that say, if I'm going to make a move to Palm Beach County, I want my office to have water views, and West Palm shines in that arena.
So great, Jen, following on that, what you did, why West Palm Beach? You were in Maryland before, right? So kind of headquartered in Maryland. What was it about the leadership team, the company, and your board decided Florida first, but then West Palm versus other submarkets?
Sure. So I think building on what Kelly said, our leader, our CEO, Rob Posner, and members of our board of advisors were looking at exactly what Kelly has started to describe. If I'm going to move my company, I need it to be a net positive for me, my personal lifestyle, the executives and senior management that will relocate their families to another state. And I need it to be a net positive for the company in terms of attractiveness of talent and location and amenities. And so for Rob and our senior leadership team coming to South Florida, and within that 5 to 10 mile radius, having the airports and transportation opportunities, having the real estate for their own personal lifestyle, and then also having the access to talent and being able to centrally locate talent where they can live, work, and play. Much of our hiring targets, the numbers I mentioned earlier, more than I would say 80%, 85%, we're targeting college graduates. So they're either graduating or 1 or 2 years removed from college, and the lifestyle they're looking for with the blend of compensation and everything else was a big focus for us when we started to look at then location. For Rob, Florida was the lifestyle, so it was a target for him to come to South Florida. And again, then when we started to look into the South Florida market, West Palm wasn't even on the radar initially. In fact, Fort Lauderdale was the real estate that he was looking at, and burned through a number of locations and sites and still wasn't finding everything that I just described that would meet his needs to fulfill that positive opportunity. And actually, I think happened on a meeting with Kelly, and then one thing led to another, and here we are now 3 years later. In fact, this month, we're celebrating 3 years in South Florida and West Palm. We've maintained our branch in Maryland, and we continue to look at how we can expand the organization using the real estate and the places where we currently are. But at the end of the day, the investment here in South Florida is strong, and we're already outgrowing the space we have. So we're already looking at what are the opportunities for us to expand and grow. And even the limitation that we have today is being able to pull everyone together. In order for me to host a meeting, which we do many throughout the year, we're going off-site. In fact, we're at the Hilton next month for an all-company meeting. And yes, we can coordinate those things, but at the end of the day, if you want to have a corporate center and you want to bring everyone together, as an HR leader, as a business leader, you really want everyone to be able to spend that time in a single space. And even at 360, where we are today, we're spread out across 2 full floors and 2 additional suites on different floors. And so even, that creates its own challenges that which we work through, but ultimately, coming back to the focus of the question, why South Florida, why West Palm in particular? It wasn't the goal at first, but ultimately the amenities from a recreational lifestyle component, as well as being able to attract the talent and have them find opportunities to live, grow, work, play right here locally. It really ultimately checked all boxes.
Yeah, it's less, and so Jen, just 2 quick follow-ups on that. You say that it's important, I mean, from a corporate perspective, right, to try to get as many people close to the center to co-locate. How are you doing with hiring 300 people a year? I mean, are you looking for space outside of that town also, or what's the, it's just a challenge. I was
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, we're actually looking at other properties, but right here in downtown. Yeah, so we're very committed to downtown, and ultimately, because it does give us the accessibility today for the talent needs that we have, as well as for our senior staff members, our executives, where they've invested. They have families, they have children that are in both the public schools and private schools here locally. And based on where they've invested in their own personal real estate, area just doesn't make sense for us. And so we continue to invest in downtown West Palm. But as we continue to grow, and today we're at 300, I need to add 300 this year. And so I'm constantly looking at the various different ways in which we can not only maximize our space, in fact, how do we retrofit what we've done within the office space and create more opportunities for people, because we are 100% in the office. Looking at a hybrid solution is not an option. So we're constantly looking at various different ways to maximize the space that we presently have, while also looking at new space downtown as well.
So, and then the other follow-up is, but 300 people a year, and that is hard in any market. What are the challenges? We talked a little bit of this the other day on the phone, but the challenges of actually bringing in 300 graduates, high college graduates, and so into this, especially with them coming from out of town.
Sure. The challenges, I think, are numerous, but the 2 that are most top of mind for me that I spend a lot of time on with our leadership team, one is housing. So we do a lot of work and regularly keep a pulse on the housing options that are available, especially for the college graduates. And with that, we also need to make sure that we're providing options which the parents deem are safe options and affordable options based on the compensation opportunity. And we even go so far as to never in my 20-plus year career in HR did I get involved in pairing and roommate matching, but we actually do a lot of work there. In fact, even using a lot of our personality assessments and DISC assessments to make sure that we are matching up individuals so that they can find roommates as they're moving to a new location. So it's really housing is number one, along with the safety component of that, and then transportation. For those that choose not to live in downtown West Palm and walk to work, which many of them do, maybe they are across the bridge or outside of the area. For them, the growing trend that I'm hearing are the challenges on their daily commutes. I've commuted for years and years, and coming from Atlanta prior to Florida, this commute is nothing. But I can definitely relate to their concerns. This is a new challenge for them. And for that commute, and certainly in the summer months when we're less dense in terms of population, it does get easier. But during the winter months, it's definitely become a challenge. So we have to look at that as well.
Especially if you graduate from the University of Kansas.
We recruit a lot from Florida State, Alabama, Auburn. I mean, these are kids that, depending on where they grew up, they're not used to it.
So,
I'd like to add another challenge that I've seen New Day have, but I've seen almost every company, and that is access to A-rated public and private schools. And if we don't get a better handle on the quality of schools here, we are really going to suffer, not just countywide, but specifically in this city. And executives at the Business Development Board charged for every call that we get to find a spot for their child in a quality school, we could probably triple our budget. But I would turn that I don't want to make that as a negative, I would turn it into an opportunity. I think that every public school K through 12 in West Palm Beach has the ability to become an A-rated school due to the private financial resources that are here. It's going to take someone that will coordinate that effort and guide that money into the right spots. But I would also take it a step further in terms of another opportunity. Knowing what Gopal and I see in the pipeline of AI, data analytics, cybersecurity, medtech, fintech, all of those schools should have a heavy focus on STEM. And this should be a breeding ground K through 12 for STEM. There's also no reason why downtown West Palm does not have a school that's very similar to the one in Boca Raton, the A.D. Henderson School. That's a public school that many parents are fighting to get their kids into. We could have that here in West Palm Beach. So I would note that as a key focus area. Education is the currency of economic development. Companies do not move to an area where they can't get a good education and where they cannot find a workforce. And so we need to ramp it up, and I think we have every opportunity to make that happen. That's actually an easy, low-hanging fruit.
So that's a great follow-up from Sean. Who today, in 2025 versus 10 years ago, maybe it's the same, maybe it's different. For downtown, something's interesting in downtown West Palm. You probably get a sense that you have a sense it's awesome. Where are people looking in terms of relocating? Is Texas, Austin still an opportunity? Dallas, that area, is that who our peer cities are? And what are they, education potentially one of them, right? But others, what are they offering their own family and friends here? So it's not like competing right now, but what are they offering ties that you wish you had or might be helpful in those spaces? It's in comparison to the cities.
For me or for
Yeah, for you, I think both.
I think there's more connectivity between private industry and the schools, both public and private. I also think that we just came back from Denver several months ago. They realized that not every kid is going to go to college, and that you can secure a job in AI, data analytics, or cybersecurity with a certificate out of high school or a 2-year degree. And so it seemed like that was a more seamless path. And every student that graduated from the high school had an assigned peer counselor that guided that kid to finding a job. This is also super interesting, I think. I've spoken to a number of executives that have moved here, and they said, Kelly, one area where you all need to raise the bar is in your guidance counseling, the quality of the counselors. They are operating with the mindset of 20 years ago, and they really haven't caught up to where West Palm is today. And they are not training up our students to believe that they can go to Ivy League schools. They're sort of just middle of the road. And we really think that our students graduating from any of our schools have that ability, and we want to make sure that you're in alignment. But on the technology side, Charlotte is also doing a lot of that. Nashville is also doing a lot more private industry, school cooperation and collaboration.
You know, I agree with Kelly. I mean, I think, Texas and Florida are leading growth in the country right now. So you're starting to see, obviously, Austin, there's a lot of tech migration over there and integration. Dallas, Charlotte, and Nashville are definitely the cities I'm thinking about.
Yeah, that's what we see tenants kind of shopping at times in the market. Well, I did turn a little bit to the land use around downtown. Australians clearly see the department be having their day, right? And it's, that corridor was partially developed and then stopped, and now, seeing the investments you all are doing with Cleveland Clinic, right? That's one of the key anchors. So in there, what do you think that corridor looks like 10 years from now? What's the fork? If it's planned and so on.
Yeah, years ago there, which is called the Reflection Site, which is a 5-acre site right there on Clear Lake off of Fern. And candidly, we had so much going on sort of within City Place that we sort of said, hey, we think this is going to be a great site at some point, but let's just hold on to it and we'll focus on it down the road. Well, luckily, Cleveland Clinic came to the table and wanted to do a 200-bed hospital and a 150,000 square foot cancer research facility. It also takes place at 15 City Place, most recently, which has been quite exciting. So we ended up actually donating the site to Cleveland Clinic, which I think is going to be phenomenal as an anchor there, a Norman Foster designed hospital facility with the research facility there. And adjacent to that, obviously, is also the Vanderbilt campus. So with those two new developments that have happened, I mean, those are game changers for the city, both education and medical. I think also the Fern Street corridor, which has been discussed probably since I've moved here, has been discussed. I mean, I think for the last 10 years. I know there's a huge desire amongst the private development company, amongst the city, the discussions with the county, and also the rail tracks to make that happen, because that becomes, from a traffic and mobility standpoint, that becomes another sort of a release for the flow of traffic going west to east, as opposed to Okeechobee and Bandon. So I think that's really important for the traffic and mobility. But that being said, I think that Fern Street corridor going from Clear Lake all the way to Flagler effectively is going to see a lot of development along that corridor. And I know that there are other sites that are owned by other friends and private developers in that Clear Lake zone that are looking at condos. There's one condo which is called Berkeley, which I think is being sold now, which has shown incredible views, because when you get up high, you get a view of the lake, and you also get a view of the intercoastal and Palm Channel. So I think again, I mean, you look at all of downtown, if you're looking at Okeechobee to Palm Beach Lakes, and then from Clear Lake to Flagler, I mean, all of it is going to get developed, I think, in the next 10 years. It's a question of what goes where, but I think Clear Lake has an opportunity to be more mixed use than it is today.
And so that also, you kind of touched on this and all the way, and how pretty much came with this conversation. It would be good to have other people ask their questions. I'm sure it's of interest. Kelly, when we spoke the other day, a lot about concern about congestion and transportation and lack thereof. A lot of developers are like, well, that's the outcome of success, right? That you have all this congestion, and that's somewhat true. But while you've been working in this market and focused on building this market for the past 20 years, or if not more, and it's you view it as a challenge also. I mean, in terms of, so Just talk about that to some extent of how much of that, we talk about schools being a challenge, housing costs, the transportation, the congestion issues as well. For residents and
Transportation, right after you've named the top three issues, and I know every day we'll get a call about transportation. Someone will say, "Can I talk to you about the traffic?" And I'll say, "No, don't talk to me. I'm in that traffic." So listen, we're growing up. This is becoming a city that has a lot of job opportunities here, hotels, arts, recreation, entertainment. Of course, we're going to get traffic. I think the biggest issue is, especially as Floridians, we're not used to mass transit, and we need to get used to that. The connectivity in the city has improved dramatically, but even today, just because I have to leave in 15 minutes, I dropped my car off in front of the library at 7:30 a.m. and I walked 3 blocks over to my office because I knew that I could not pick up something here to get me 3 blocks over in time to get to Boca Raton. And I knew I could not pick up something right outside the library to take me to Boca Raton. And I think that that's the issue, is that if you look at the latest demographics on where the jobs are, the number is 33401. If you look at where most employees are coming from, the zip code is 33414 and 33411. Well, that's Wellington and Royal Palm. So no wonder that Okeechobee Boulevard looks the way that it does. If we took a look at Okeechobee Boulevard on the west side of 95 right now, there are 2 opportunities there. Those are strip malls that were built in the 1950s and 60s that have no density, no height whatsoever. We could either do transportation hubs or multifamily residential or better infill redevelopment sites. And I would also throw in there Congress Avenue and Military Trail, again, old inventory. And we could fix those areas to deal with some of these issues. We could drop our car there, get on a bus, come downtown and get right back on the bus later on this afternoon at 5 o'clock. Easier said than done, but if we do not deal with transportation, many people will choose not to come into downtown West Palm. And if we're not coming into downtown West Palm, we're not eating at the restaurants. I'm not going to CVS this afternoon. I'm not going for dinner tonight. We're going to reduce that number dramatically.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting and important topic. I was I happened to be in Brickell, in Brickell District in Miami about a week ago. And it took me 45 minutes to get from Brickell to downtown, which is very close to each other. And I was sort of looking, as a student of urban planning and thinking about sort of how that city developed, because early in my career, I developed a hotel on South Beach. So I've been following Miami for the last 20 years, 25 years. I think we can learn from other cities, that didn't really think about their urban planning and sort of the at-grade, the at-street experience, and the traffic and mobility issues that happen. Certainly there's been incredible economic growth in Miami, but now you have the growing pains from a lifestyle standpoint, certainly from a traffic and mobility standpoint. The other thing is I live in Flamingo Park. I purposely moved there so that I could walk to my office at 360 Rosemary every day. So that's what I do. And that's how sort of I've been leading the development of City Place, everything we're doing downtown, thinking a little bit more like a 15-minute city, and how people who live and work and play in the downtown can be sort of within that range. And certainly we're a proponent of driving more residential density, which means more height, more FAR, to get more people living in and around the downtown. Certainly the younger office employees and people, even families, they want that accessibility, they want that ease. Now, all that being said, we are building millions of square feet of office, and we're building hotels, and we're building retail and every asset class you can think about to try to make this a better city. And density is a key part of that. A lot of people live within a radius that are coming in to access the office buildings, of course, and access the culture and access all the new restaurants we have, which are very exciting. So we need to think about how those individuals or those families are coming from areas of Palm Beach County, so west to Wellington, north up to Jupiter and Palm Beach Gardens. I don't really think east of Palm Beach Island. I don't think a lot of the Palm Beachers are coming to sort of. Well, Palm Beach Island is also another issue getting from Palm Beach Island to West Palm Beach. There's a lot of growing pains with that. But then I think south down to over Del Rey, and I think Kelly's idea of creating a mobility transportation hub outside of downtown, right outside of is really great. And I know there have been discussions around light rail, the TPA has had some great ideas, and there are a lot of great ideas, but if we can sort of, you know, check the box on the simple ones and try to figure out how do we get the first order going, how do we get the mobility hubs going, I think we're going to see a major positive.
I mean, so for us, in terms of doing the master plan, we really explore more than just the core itself, right? I mean, it's, where the end, that's one key. I don't want to dominate all the questions, and I have to leave in a couple of minutes, if Sean's going to stay. But does anyone have questions that just, if you, just by a raise of hand, have questions for the panel? I mean, so, you know, once, this is an opportunity, so, yeah, sure. Here you go.
Wondering, no one has really, sorry. I was Lisa Conley, I'm the resident of Center City on the north side, right past Good Sam, and one of the slate on the menu that related, built in 2005. So I've been here quite a long time. But no one mentioned the new transit center that's happening on the old 10 site that's under construction. Doesn't that have to play in the transportation issue? It's an office building, but I don't know how to mobility component.
Rick Green, there was some discussion at some point about having that as a transit center, but that idea has gone away. There's a project that's been approved there, West Palm Point, Class A office building. I'm hoping I don't want to put Brian Seymour on the spot, he represents the development. He's in the back.
Guy's not here.
But it's a Class A office, approximately, 420,000 square feet or so, that we hope will start any day now. With a parking garage, 10-story parking garage that is obscured. It's treated, you won't see vehicles. We were very adamant about hiding the garage, and they did a very good job, an excellent job actually, concealing that. So, but the transit center is out. We're still focusing on the transit center at Banyan and seeing if we can do something there.
How close is that?
I'm sorry?
How close would that building be?
I believe that's 25 stories. The garage is on the east side of the property on the 10 side, and that's 10 stories.
Good morning, Darren Stutzfield, 401 North Rosemary. My question and thoughts is just, I just want to know you guys' thoughts on how do we include some of the adjacent neighborhoods who, as we grow, what are your thoughts on how do we include those adjacent neighborhoods, i.e. the Northwest Coleman Park and Pleasant City? As we grow, what are your thoughts on what are the strategies and the goals in improving those areas, because it's going to affect our entire city. I just want to know your thoughts on that.
I'll just take the beginning of that moment just to say, this afternoon, we're having a whole session on community development and reinvestment and the lower and moderate neighborhoods within the city, and how to tie that to all this growth and the economic activity that's going on. And that's why we set it up that way, because you can't look at one without the other, to your point. So, but certainly if anyone else has,
Hey, Darren, good to see you. I think it's a really relevant point, because, these neighborhoods, which have been historic neighborhoods, are right adjacent to the downtown core. And there's a huge opportunity for development and growth in those neighborhoods, and I think they should be considered in the larger sort of zoning process for the downtown. We have a nonprofit called Related Together that I formed about a year and a half ago. And the nonprofit is solely focused on those neighborhoods, on historic Northwest Pleasant City and Coleman Park. There's a lot of pillars that we've put together, but initially we focused on education. And Steve Ross wrote the first check to give full ride scholarships to kids who are graduating from the 2 high schools in those areas, from Palm Beach Lakes and Forest Hill, to Palm Beach State College. So it's a collaboration with Palm Beach State College. Actually, we put guidance counselors in the high schools, and we're thinking about, we're also working at an initiative with Roosevelt Elementary as well. So we're thinking about this cradle to college idea for education. So our nonprofit is focusing a lot of time in those neighborhoods, and one of the topics is how do we get more workforce and affordable housing in those areas, higher quality housing. So it's definitely a longer discussion, but those neighborhoods need to be integrated, I think, into this region's downtown master plan.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Cheryl Diaz, West Palm Beach DDA, Public Health Director. I know we haven't gotten there yet, but just want to know that with the CMP, are we thinking of the connectivity of the public spaces? We're doing great at building them, integrated into the buildings with the art and the 1%, and the variance that you have to have some kind of public park or courtyard attached to a tall building. But then are we looking at the connection of all these future locations, especially corridors like, I want to say Dixie, that we can't really redesign, but maybe through the public spaces, we can make a better connection for those who live here in the future.
I mean, it's a good question. I just to reiterate what you started, you're not there yet, right? I mean, that's your first statement. So we're trying to break this down into component parts and then bring it all together. So that's why we focused this morning on economics, and then certainly in terms of urban design and linking components of the city together. It's a critical piece of it, and Darius and Bernard and Surya and our landscape group of how you do in terms of linear linking areas from a linear perspective are all kind of starting to think through that process. But that'll be over the next several months. We'll be getting at that, and we're having sessions going forward, as Grace pointed out, as well, that deal very specifically with those issues also. Right?
Go to the front first.
Here.
Yes.
Okay. I know that the city is working with the Department of Transportation on a project that extends from Palm Beach out to Okeechobee, Lakeview. There's a little piece of property there that they are talking about buying the easement next to Sioux City Plaza and expanding the green to make the sidewalk larger and eliminating the light trail. And in doing so, they're not going to make any more lanes. They're actually proposing to make the lanes go from a 12-foot width to a 10-foot width. I can't see how that's possibly going to help transportation and ease the traffic coming off of Palm Beach and trying to get west. I'm asking that question.
No, yeah.
Do you know the project?
I gotta find the right person to answer it briefly, but. Yeah.
Yes, the project that you're talking about is a project that the city, it's a project, an FDOT project, and the city is just supporting FDOT, and we talk with FDOT to help us improve the sidewalks. They were doing it, it's not a lane elimination, it's just reduction of the speed of the travel lane, so the capacity of the road will be maintained. It just, they have just reduced the width of the travel lanes and the traffic will flow the same way. That actually goes along with the project of coordination and improvement of the signals. So the efficiency of the signals is a new technology that adapts the length of the signal based on the traffic demand. So that it will come first, and then after that, they will do the restriping of the road, and the city work with FDOT on redesigning the sidewalk to provide a better pedestrian connection and more comfort for pedestrians. So it's really an FDOT project that we are doing.
Is it a done deal?
It's moving forward, yes. But so that you know, the reduction of the width of the travel lanes will not impact the capacity of the road.
Standard lanes are 12 feet.
Those are highway width.
To go.
So, Brian, you want to?
Thank you. Brian Seymour, aforementioned. So I have a couple of things. One, can we define downtown? Because I think everybody thinks of the downtown as the urban core, but it's actually, I believe, the DMP covers more area than that. And because of that,
And really, I think Gopal probably, you may have the most information for this. But the two things, we've seen a lot of office going up in the urban core or reposition, and not as much residential. And is there economically a need to adjust some of that based on what you're seeing? And then from a school perspective, where should they go? Right, Kelly was talking about schools. We have some existing schools. I have some information from things I do outside my regular day job that indicates we need more private schools. I know that Related is looking at one out in Wellington, and I guess you guys have a contract working with K Park, but what about in this area? Is that something that can be done down in the downtown?
So I think you had two questions there, right?
At least.
Yeah. So let me try to tackle the first one. I think what you're saying is there's been a lot of development on the office side, which thankfully that was part of the original downtown master plan was incentivize office at work. And we're all fortunate that we're seeing this migration of world-class companies come to downtown, which is a game changer for us. It's probably the most important from an economic impact standpoint in terms of driving the viability of downtown across every use. And certainly, philanthropically, having these companies come to downtown and want to invest in the community is also another really important thing. But yes, I would agree with you. I said this a little bit earlier. I think, densification of the downtown with more residential product, both condos and rental units, is critical. And I think a lot about sort of, we have been obviously developing the City Place corridor, but I think, east of Rosemary, effectively, or east of Quadrant to Flagler, and then west of South Villa all the way Lake, those are areas that should see a lot more densification on the residential side. And I do think as downtown becomes more desirable as a place to live, work, and play, but on the live side, we need more product, and we need more product across every category: affordable, workforce, and market rate, and luxury. So that's going to be a really important discussion, I think, for the future of the city.
Hi. I'm concerned about the safety of walking around downtown. With the e-bikes, walking on the sidewalks, I think the pedestrian has been forgotten here. With the increase of traffic, we have e-bikes, we have scooters, we have, you name it, besides people walking. And I think we really need to consider some new rules for walking safely in our downtown areas. Also, walking to City Place. There is a whole unlit area from Dixie to Quadro that is not lit. And I have spoken to everyone under the sun, and I've been told we're working on it. How long this has been 15 years, how long does it take?
So it's interesting, right? So in the master plan, some of the aspects of the master plan are good. By the way, as Grace pointed out early, there's a whole team that's part of this planning process that's focused on transportation. And it's not only transportation more than vehicular, bike, scooter. It's also how it interacts with pedestrian traffic also. And so that's going to be a core part of the plan. But what you're also focusing on is at a smaller scale, it's enforcement, right? So you have all the rules on the books, but are rules necessarily being enforced as well? And I don't know how much we're going to touch on that in the master plan, but certainly kind of setting up conditions so to the extent that the physical spaces are accommodating, are dealing with the safety issues. That's absolutely part of this planning process going forward for the next several months. Anybody else want to add to that? I'm kind of Not like economic lane, but
They're actually all related issues. When we were here 15, 18 years ago, this was a different city. It's a time, I believe, that people understand. Oh, it's on.
It's on. You guys are on.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a different city than it was when we were here several years ago. And to answer the mobility question, I think it's tied into also the education question. Our lessons need to come from different places. We're in a point, just like technology and finance, we're reinventing how it moves forward. That's really the point. So by example, education could be more than campuses. It could be pre-K at the bottom of new buildings. It could be all kinds of different approaches to education. The same is true with mobility. If you go around the country, scooters and bikes are part of mobility as well as pedestrian. And it's really important that we're going to be looking at those, possibly even more so than cars. Because as the city grows and densifies and we have more people on the street, we're going to need to have more space for people on foot to actually move around the city. That's why people come to the city. Otherwise, they would move to Wellington and they could have their own two-car garage. So I think that's really a big part of what we're doing, and we're going to be looking at that very closely as part of this overall study.
Anybody else? This
There are two things. Two questions. So one was on the walkability question. I think a lot of what we're seeing in the city is, the construction impacts and traffic disruptions associated with the sheer growth and rapid pace of growth in the downtown. And other cities that have seen that have addressed pedestrian connectivity through construction and scaffolding requirements, maintenance of traffic that considers the pedestrian. And it looks like we go right up to the property line with a construction fence and it's just pushed into the traffic light and it's causing some disruption. So as a lot of these construction sites happen simultaneously and these traffic patterns are starting to disrupt the downtown traffic flow, I just suggest us thinking about the pedestrian during the temporary construction activities that are all happening over the next decade across all these parcels at the same time. So that's just one of the first suggestions off of that point. But my question is related to incentives and development incentives and how we can get some of the amenities back that we've lost once the price point for Class A office reached a certain point. It just became unviable for movie theater tenants and bowling alley tenants to compete in some of those ways without subsidies or without some type of incentive to bring them back to compete with the rental rates they can get from other retail tenants. So I'm wondering what incentives or models in the country we can look at for incentive-based kind of growth that, like you mentioned, the pre-K on the first floor, helping subsidize that, or inclusionary housing principles that look at of income inside pro forma. So I just didn't know what type of incentives you've seen or studied or will study throughout this process that can help bring some of those play amenities back and forth to the downtown.
Yeah, that second point is a great point in terms of how to really, particularly as it relates, we do focus on housing, but also retailers, right? How do you get entertainment uses which can't necessarily pay as much in rent as others? And so it's something, as we get through this process with the CRA, probably we need to be looking at. So I appreciate you raising it. Then one more question. I think, sorry, who's up front, if you don't mind, but and then we'll move on to the survey, but of course.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Mujaski. I'm the firefighter for West Palm Beach. My question is, as I sit here and listen to everybody, it's our job to take care of everyone that's in this room and everybody that's going to be in this Class A office space and so forth. the response times are obviously affected, but more importantly, the vertical response times to those buildings is higher than ever. How much considerations are you guys giving to building new stations or even planning for those?
Do you want to answer that question?
No.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, certainly, if the need is there, there's gonna have to be a need to build more stations, not only downtown, but citywide. So, you know, the advantage of downtown is, again, because of all the growth we've witnessed, there's a tax equity financing district which generates money, which allows us to capture county tax revenue as well. So, certainly, if the need is there, that's something we're gonna have to include in our capital improvement plan and plan it. And, you know, we converse with Chief Matty all the time, so those discussions will continue. If need be, we'll build another station.
Thank you. Great. You're gonna move on?
Yes.
Okay, well, try to get some other questions, but offline.
Was there one last question here? No?
Yeah, well, if you, okay.
I'm Penny Murphy, and I own a business on Clementa Street. And my question is, what are we thinking about doing for Clementa? Certainly, that's one of the oldest and most historic streets in this city. And we did a whole beautification, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, but it really hasn't changed what's going on down there. So I was wondering, what kind of plans do you have? To me, it's one of the most beautiful streets. It's the only street, when you look down the street, that you see the water, and you see Palm Beach, and you see really what this city stands for. So I would love to see it become what it should be.
Yeah, there's another great point also about retail. I say this, is you have a shop on Atlantis, is that right? Yeah, you did. I mean, as you know, one of the big problems is a lot of those spaces are, modern retail, they're obsolete, they're very deep, just by the nature of it. And so how do you, we need to look at strategies of how to deal with existing. Sorry, a lot of those spaces tend to be obsolete because they were built so long. So how do we set it up in a way that to either allow for reconfiguration of spaces or identify tenants that can occupy those spaces, or so it needs to be a kind of core part of what we're going to be looking at. So I appreciate the comment, and we will look at it. So with that, I think we're going to move on to a survey, a poll of you all. Want to thank so much everyone that participated in the panel. Thank you again for doing it, and looking forward to this afternoon.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Yes, well, thank you, Ms. Murphy, for that last comment regarding Clematis Avenue. Clearly one of the most important streets within downtown West Palm Beach. Thank you again to our panelists, Gopal, Jennifer, Sean, and Kelly, for sharing their perspective and insights. We're going to keep you here for a while longer. We have lunch, actually, to keep you here as much as we can. And there is an afternoon session covering housing and community development, which starts at 1 o'clock. But we wanted to take a few more minutes of your time and do a quick survey online. If you all can please scan your iPhones to the QR code, we'll get started on that. There's also a number in case you don't have a camera, right, for that you can enter in a text. Is that how it works? Okay, first question. On the screen, do you live and or work in West Palm Beach? I'm sorry, West Palm.
But the answer is both, there's no.
I don't think you can do both, but you may do both, yeah. So we have about 50 people in the room today, so I'm just going to wait a few minutes to get as much responses as possible. Oh, got it. And it allows you to do both, guys? Okay, waiting on anybody? Yeah, I think I can. Without disrupting the. Okay. There you go. Next question. What are your primary interests in downtown? And you can clearly pick more than one.
It doesn't let you pick one.
Doesn't let you. You can only pick one.
It's only given to one.
It only gives you an option?
It gives you more than one option, but you can't pick multiple options.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll have you do it. Okay, same as before, more work here, and 3, live here, shop here, and own property here. We don't have a lot of developers in the room, so. Go, Paul, did you check it? Okay, next question. What best describes your perspective and interest in this first roundtable panel this morning? We're also doing the same survey for the afternoon session. I believe you can pick several here, yes?
No.
No, okay. We apologize for that. You are day one guinea pigs for us today, so. Okay, as a resident, as a developer, but not developers, are ranking higher. Business interests.
It doesn't say developers, it says the interest is in development.
No, I know, I'm joking that before there weren't any developers in the room, there's a lot of people interested in development. More so than education, come on. We heard a lot about education today. And sorry that you can't do 2. If you stay, you get to vote again this afternoon after lunch, so. Okay, looks like we need 2 more answering because we're hitting about 25 every time we're doing this. Okay, as a resident and also interested in development. Okay, next question. I hope that with this one you can select several, but primary focus of downtown, we're interested in knowing, is your primary focus on expanding downtown offices and attracting jobs, improving? There's been a lot of conversation today about mobility, including pedestrian and bike connectivity. Thank you for the comment regarding public spaces. Is that a priority, primary? Wow. Public spaces to provide better amenities. The 4th one is about housing affordability to accommodate a growing downtown, a growing population. And the last one is about enhancing healthcare facilities to be able to serve residents better. So, looks like pedestrian connectivity and public open spaces are running even. Three more answers. Or votes for them? Housing affordability, number one. Public open space, the connectivity. They're interrelated, by the way, so. We all know that. Okay, and healthcare and office spaces also. I don't know why you say that. Even. Key factor to manage or provide in determining the future success of downtown. Number one being your highest priority. Public transportation, quality of life, traffic, and parking availability. So again, it's about what ranks highest priority for you with regards to these four topics for the future success of downtown. Of downtown development projects. Okay, quality of life, transportation second, traffic, and parking availability, as we see on the graphic there. We have about 2 or 3 more questions, and by the way, for those that you could pick multiple, we will be sending out to folks that registered here this morning via email the survey so that you still have the opportunity to rank or to pick multiple that you were in effect interested in or considered a priority for you. Okay, this is a word one for you to write. What are your preferred uses and what are the uses that you frequently visit in the downtown? You can use 1, max 3 words. So preferred uses and uses that you frequently visit when you're in downtown. Mostly office. Entertainment. Okay, looks like we have 3 more or less the same responses from folks. I'll go to the next one. I think this is the last question. Are there other uses that you would like to have access to in the downtown? The ones that you selected. A hard one to think about. Okay. Other uses. These are great and very helpful for our team to see how these, see first what they are and second how they rank. I'll wait a few minutes, because only 14 of you, 15 have responded, and I know there's more people. Okay, we got about 21 responses. Recreation, parks, open space takes the first spot. Skate and town square, love hearing that. Okay, on our team. We'll end with this one. What do you consider a challenge to providing these uses in the downtown area? Good one. Okay. Traffic and parking are the top challenges. So next, we have lunch in the outdoor area, box lunches, and we will follow with a rapid fire session with Bernard Siskevich and Paul Lambert. So you're welcome to pick up your lunch, eat, and come back into this room. Bernard's laughing, rapid fire. Yeah, so just, again, and stick around, we'll start the next program. We'll do the session with Bernard and Paul a little bit after you all have an opportunity to eat, and we do have the next round table at 1 o'clock covering housing and community and neighborhood development. Okay, thank you so much.
Like, once you're there, I can't. I may end up there if I need space.
I know. I take drugs. My doctor's stress makes it. Yeah. It's like we're on 24/7. Yep. I gotta be. I'll let you know.
Michael Cuevas. I've been living in downtown in 2010. I was president of downtown New York City for about 6 years. For 4 years. I sat on the downtown active committee for 6 years. We've been very involved in downtown, so we've kind of pursued all this stuff. Yeah, it's just, initially I thought, when New Day moved here, I thought initially you guys were like an EA automation company, but now you, one partnership, but now you brought into finance. Okay. Do have blogs, like, I mean, not just on you do traditional conventional also. Oh, okay. And just to figure out about you, because it was, yeah, it was obviously, that's when I didn't know, I've been in, I'm in real estate for 20 years now. I've done some media loans. You guys should all. So some of my, I mean, I don't know, like, who's there because you're talking about. I know it's a fantastic program. Well, he's right now, but yeah, he did the MBA thing. Zero down, and then obviously, yeah, he was what's interesting that it's just and now are you have more people here?
Yes. Okay, so that work.
Huh? 300 people still, like, I mean, that's in 2025. And you have.
Very muscle moving.
Yeah. And do you, since I have to ask, do you work specifically with, like, how are you finding all homes? Like, what is it?
I've never been in a HR role where
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think that's literally we're talking to different developers and right now.
The fence needs to get that, take along the wall. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I would have been this.
Right. What's in the I'm sure that yeah, well, this is good for, I've had some short-term rentals like for beach, so, I'm sure like that, those are probably what, I'm sure you have to figure out, to go everywhere or anything. Yeah.
Now took the tree.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Ron Seymour's office. One of the things that says when we were downtown, it said Ron Seymour's office. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't see it. See, that's how you know it's in. Walk with your eyes. I got lots of texts. Well, at least it was something we need to You get a discount. You get 10%.
We're gonna keep on the next
She's coming.
Oh, got it.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Yes. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. We're going to get started with this next 30-minute session, rapid fire discussion between Paul Lambert, Bernard Siskowicz, and Jerome Barth, who are members of our team, consultants. I introduced them earlier, but I'm going to pass it over to them to introduce themselves, and then we'll see what happens. Thank you. Paul, do you have your
Been asked to lead off. So I'm Bernard Siskowicz, and I guess it's 18 years since we first came to the city to try to understand what the future might look like. And I'm really happy that we're back because so much has changed. It's a new opportunity for a new vision that builds on all the success that has already happened for the city. So I'm very happy to be here.
And again, I'm Paul Lambert. I'm